Oh, Cats home, Friday night footy by 19 points, 14-12, 96 Geelong, Adelaide 11-11, 77 in what was a standout game for the milestone man, Tom Stewart. Absolutely fantastic game of footy tonight. For a Friday night feed, get the Macca's new surprise fries. Peel any medium or large fries for a chance to find a prize. Mark Rasciuto and Bernie Vince, that game of footy. What were your thoughts as it all sort of finished up?
I felt like Geelong were the better side over the whole night. I thought they just played better footy. They took their chances in the forward line. They looked a bit more dangerous in their forward line. I thought their big-name players stood up when they needed to, whether that was Dangerfield or Blixarves through the middle of the ground. Their back line was rock solid. When it went forward, Hawkins kicked the goals when he needed to. Cameron was dangerous when he needed to. Adelaide had their chances. They ended up with more inside 50, 66 to 53, but their forward line was erratic and all over the joint and not super dangerous until the last quarter when the ball was just getting peppered in there. But it was lacking a little bit of system, their forward line. Geelong's back line were just too good for them.
Yeah, full credit to Geelong. Win on the road against a team that wanted to respond from last week. Pretty poor 3 quarters from Adelaide last week, and they just jumped them from the start, didn't they? Adelaide kicked the first goal, but I think Geelong kicked the next 4 from memory, and then from there it was just really tough. Adelaide did everything they could to get back, get their noses in front by a point, and then Geelong kicked the next 5, I think, in a row and put it to bed. So that's a really good win on the road. Just clean it. Made better decisions going inside 50. I reckon Adelaide should watch Geelong's inside 50s in their review, because they just lowered the eyes, just hit or rewarded the lead-up target, and they had sometimes there's long shots on goal from sort of 45 when they could have gone long, but by rewarding the lead-up, it allows you to set up and have a bit of a spell while they have a shot on goal, and they kicked them anyway. So really disappointing. Adelaide just continually bombed it inside 50 for some reason. I don't know whether they were trying to get in quick to put pressure on or what they were trying to do, but it just didn't work.
Let's head to the Cats rooms. There we go. Geelong home by 19 points. If you can just go into that a bit more for us, Berner and Roo, because it seemed to be a bit of a theme of the night you're talking about with these forward structures, and at either end, because Adelaide's connection was lacking, and Roo, I think you just said erratic at times, the way they were sort of going about it, and Bern, you said the other end they were cleaner, Geelong. They entered well and they were able to sort of find their way. What was the main difference in that aspect of those two parts of the game?
The way I saw it was Adelaide were down in the midfield in the first quarter, and they looked like they pushed one of their forwards up to try and give them an extra number around the ball, and that just gave their back line even more strength. And then Adelaide started getting on top. That second quarter, they dominated the game. They had 24 inside 50s to 11, but kicked 2 goal 3. So they just couldn't convert. They were rushing it. They were abnormal. Last year their forward line was brilliant and efficient and super dangerous. They just haven't clicked there yet. One game in the wet in the Gold Coast, they couldn't get going. Tonight they had 60-odd inside 50s and couldn't kick a winning score. So they're still rusty, to be honest. They're struggling to get... They're nowhere near their best at the moment, Adelaide, but Geelong, they were very good tonight. They would have been very happy with that performance. Efficient, stood up when they needed to, got the most out of their side, couple of laid out. So I thought they did as much as they could on the road, the Cats.
You win contested possession, and you win clearance by 11, and you win inside 50s by 13. Without looking at the score, you probably think that's a win. If you're looking at key indicators of whether win-loss, that's what coaches look at a lot. So they'll have to go back to the drawing board and work out why. Clearances plus 9 it was in clearance. So
they just didn't use the ball in their forward 50.
It was the way the clearance, they sort of tended to go sideways or defensive side Adelaide, whereas Geelong quite often come through the front of the stoppage, and that really creates pressure going inside D50 for opponents, and you give free kicks away. You can't go with, if it's a perfect kick, you can't stop that. So that was the difference for me, just efficiency going inside 50. But some big moments as well that Geelong were very good. Dangerfield stood up in that third quarter when he was needed to. Tom Hawkins kicked some really important goals. Their set shot kicking all night, I thought, in big moments was as good as you'll see. And, you know, they're experienced players as well. Don't get me wrong. They've been around a long time, some of those players, and they just won pivotal moments, and down the other end Adelaide couldn't.
Easy thing to say, but if you look at the last quarter last week for Adelaide and you look at how they got to the 1 point lead in the third term tonight as well, you've got to look at what did we do? How did we do it? What was going right? What was the system? Yep. And what was happening inside 50 when all of that was going on? Because for the other periods of last week and tonight, that wasn't happening, was it?
No, you're right, and you got to look at that. What are we doing? What are we doing right when we're scoring, and what are we doing wrong when we're getting scored against? Yep. So, for me, it was the way that they were coming out of clearance. So they win clearance by 9, but there was just the way. I'd love to see metres gained from clearance, because I don't reckon Adelaide would be anywhere near what Geelong were, even though they were less in actual numbers from clearance. So, just more efficient, cleaner. Just a well-oiled machine, Geelong tonight.
And it's a good point, Bern, because we've known Matty Crouch since he's come back in from the showdown. He's been more metres gained.
Yep.
But tonight I think he had like 25 handballs or something, and 13 or 12 kicks. Instead of getting a bit of leverage out of the stoppage, and that may be not just him, but that's an example of what you're talking about, isn't it?
His job is to get the ball. He needs the blokes running past to give it to. He's never going to be a running machine.
No.
His job is to go and extract it and give it to the guys to be able to do that. That's what he needs.
Yeah, minus 87 metres gained he was with handball last week in a wet game. So, you know, tonight I don't know those figures right now, because you've got to look at that after the game. But it'll be interesting to see what he got, because in a wet weather game you think you just get it forward, wouldn't you?
Forward,
but minus 87's a big number from just handball metres gained in a wet game. So tonight, sort of similar. It looked like they come out defensive side a bit. You'd love to just... And the forwards will be screaming out for that. Tex, Fogg, these guys, they want it in quick. They want it, even numbers don't allow that extra from Geelong quite often, Tom Stewart.
And that's the thing, Roo. Like, if you can tell me, how do you stop? In fact, we'll come back to you on that. I think we're about to head down to the Geelong rooms right now. Paddy Dangerfield has been kind enough to join us on Triple M Footy. Paddy, here's Mark Rasciuto with the first question.
You're right, don't you? Look like you come off with a little bit of an injury at the end.
Yeah, not sure, Rupert. I'm not sure whether it's a cramp or it's a little hammy. So wait and see. But sort of happened. The same thing happened last year against the Crows. So I'll have to wait and see. But we've got Super Steve Saunders, as you know. Call him Superannuation is his nickname. So I actually got that off Ruan Goody.
I think I paid for half his house.
He's got a fair head wobble down here, Steve Saunders. But hey, what was Scotty's message straight out the rooms, Danger?
We really wanted to make tonight about us, to be honest. Like, proud of the job, but we've got, a really big season ahead of us, and we want to make every week about us. Absolutely, internally, obviously. So, yes, you prepare for the opposition, whoever it may be, but let's ride this and continue to get better every week. And a special night for a special guy. I can't remember too many better. 150 games. There's been some champions of the game, but I tell you what, like, it's 5 All-Australian Biggles, I think. He's a couple of times best and fairest. And, if he wasn't injured, it might have been a few more here and there. So, Stewie's been an incredible player for us, from the time he was drafted. So we're very fortunate to have him.
You lost Tanner as well, sorry, Boone, and Mitch and Tom out as well. Talk us through how you covered for those so early.
Yeah, it was funny. So that was sort of flagged late, to be honest. So... and we're confident whoever comes in, can play that role. But at the same time, those guys have been a staple of the side. So it does require a little bit of jigging, but I felt like we were able to do that. We've got some guys that are really flexible. I think that, in today's game, you have to be able to play multiple positions, and that does allow you to cover. When you have sort of 3 first-choice mids roll out of the side, you've got to sort of tweak it in other ways. And we're seeing sort of some natural progression from guys like Jai Clark, who sort of was injured in his first year, but he's as hard as a cat's head. And I remember the scouting profile out of the under-18s was players like Joel Selwood, and that's a terrible rap, because it's like Joel is who he is. Like, just let Jai be Jai. But the way that he attacks the ball, I get why they said he's like Joel, because he's fearless.
Danger, congratulations on tonight, mate. Outstanding effort. Thought you really stood up in that third quarter for your team as skipper. I want to touch on Tom Stewart again just quickly. We see what we see on the field. Fastest ever player to 5-time All-Australian. What's he like off the field? Tell us something we don't know about him. What's he into? Is he a surfer? Is he
He's not a surfer.
golfer?
No,
Is he? What does he do?
He loves his golf burn.
Golf.
He's actually... Like, he is as, ferocious a competitor as I've seen on the field, but he's such a big softie off it.
Right.
So he's got a couple of kids, he's got a beautiful wife, Emma, but he's a really kind person, and you just don't see that if you're watching broadcast.
No.
You look at him and go, this guy's just a prick.
Maniac.
He wasn't kind to the Crows tonight.
But he's such a kind soul. So, I mean, it's funny, those guys that are just so uber competitive on the field, and then off the field, it's like they're the polar opposite. So, like I said, he's a super player. Really kind soul, loves his golf, loves his Creed, that sort of 90s rock era burn,
right. Yeah.
It's, home of Triple M, I suppose.
That's it.
Very, very
That's
comfortable on the airwaves here. But, he's super. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about Tom, and he's an incredible leader. He's grown so much in his time at the club, and that 44 has been kind to us, hasn't it?
It has.
How did that longer pre-season go? The whole side looks like they're a bit sharper and a bit fitter.
Yeah, it's a funny one, Rupert. Like, it's every pre-season is different, but when you do have that longer period of time, it doesn't allow you to play around with some things. And we spent a lot of the pre-season, like, it wasn't just day one, come back and this is exactly how we're going to play. It evolved, over sort of a 12-week period. We'd play with some things, and the feedback would be, not sure about this coach, let's throw that out. And then they'd throw something else up, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty good. And I think that's where our coaches have been really great. They'll throw things up, and they're happy to listen to the player feedback around, yep, we like the feel of this, or not sure about it. And then there's some things that they'll push, and then there's other things that they'll sort of relent on and understand from a player's perspective. So it's given us time, and, you can only, with the time that you've got, prepare as best you can. We know the season's a marathon, not a sprint, but we feel like we've used it pretty well.
A 10-day break now into Hawthorn Easter Monday. What happens over the weekend?
Well, heading down to Dangerfield for a couple of days, which would be nice. So just, see some of the the beautiful wineries down there, or just one rather, and celebrate Shoes 150. So that'd be nice.
Taste them and spit them out.
Maybe not, Burn.
Paddy, you're a star, mate. Big win for you and your side tonight in Tom Stewart's 150th. Thanks for joining us, mate. 2-0 to start the year and the big Easter Monday clash. Best of luck.
Good on you guys. Thanks for having me.
There he is, Patrick Dangerfield.
Don't you get a good insight from Paddy Dangerfield? He's an open book, isn't he?
No, he's a freak.
Yeah. Brilliant in the media.
Hey, just back to Tom Stewart.
Just averaging an All-Australian team every 30 games.
Extraordinary stuff.
It's incredible when you think of that.
But even tonight, like, Adelaide did their homework and knew what they had to do. They had their tactics. It didn't come off. He's had an extraordinary game of football. How do you go about stopping a player like that?
It's tough. It's so tough because he gets it every week, so he's used to it. He's been used to it nearly all 150 games. He's had someone with him. He's been that good. So come in obviously as a mature age, but you've just got to find a way to come out of the stoppage and use his man somehow. So you can't have a full stopper on him.
You've got to use the ball better going in.
You've got to lower your eyes and use, because as soon as you drop your eyes to kick, you watch him, he's gone almost to the dangerous spot, and he's already there. So you've got to.
So even trying to kick it away from him, he's reading where you're going anyway.
If you just hack it in like Adelaide did, he's just going to feast already off it non-stop.
Yep.
Because it's easy. When you can see someone just about to hack it, he knows where it's going to go. But when you're coming through the middle and you've got time and space and use the ball better, that's when you get found out as an intercept defender. So tonight, Adelaide just bombed it in and bombed it in and bombed it in, and he's just going to have a field day if you play like that.
Big game of footy for the Cats. They are 2-0 to start the year. What's the washout of this for Adelaide? 0-2. The buzz was all about town. We're pushing up towards the finals. Nixie's been re-signed, of course, for the couple of years. Not saying that tonight affects any of that, of course, but what does it mean for a club who are trying to launch? You want a better start to the year than 0-2.
I reckon they started shaky again tonight. I reckon they were shaky last week. I think. Late in the games, they're starting to play decent footy, but they're not starting the way they're finishing. So I think there's a bit of confidence there. That their game is definitely far from a finished product at the moment. It's nowhere near like they were when they were playing at their best footy last year. So it's a tough start. You don't want to be zipped too. It was a tough draw. They've had a tough draw. They've still got a tough draw to come. So they're going to have to get their game going against some good sides in the next few weeks. Otherwise, they're going to be in a really difficult position. The pressure will be mounting.
Fremantle at Optus next week, into Melbourne here, gather round. So that's a big couple of weeks. Yep. And they'll probably maybe go into as underdog for both of them. So, I mean, you can read into that.
Both winnable.
Both winnable as well. So, big test for Adelaide. They need to regroup. They need to review this one tough, I reckon. Not sure how they did it last week, but the reports were they looked at the positives and what happened well in the last quarter. I think they need to delve into it this week and really have some home truths and come out firing against Freo next week.
Both weeks, it was when they were down that they actually started to play well. So does it sort of reek of, or does it look like, Roo, we're getting done, just have a go, just have a crack and start taking it on?
Well, it is easier to play well when your back's against the wall. It's harder to do it from the start of the game, and that's what they need to do. They just weren't efficient enough. They had so much of the ball in that second quarter, and they just lacked the polish. Was that how good Geelong were in their back line? I think it's partly that, but they had bundles of opportunity. 24 inside 50s to 11 in the second quarter and only kicked 2 goals. You kick 6 there, or you kick 7, or kick even 8 out of that, and you're well in front at half-time.
Macca's I'm Loving It moment. Tonight's I'm Loving It moment happened 21 minutes into the third quarter, and here's how we called it on Triple M Footy. So the ball is back in play, and Hinge for Adelaide through half-back. A long ball in the... Gee, flew as high as you want. He just couldn't drag it in.
That's mark of the century if he takes that.
It was extraordinary. Wow. The climb was into next year. Didn't he have the perfect sit, Burn?
Good, full tilt on it, as high as you could get. And he ended up being dropped. Can I say he dropped the sitter in the end?
Right there. You know full well, I mean, none of us have too many flights up like that, but when you go for a hanger, it all happens very quickly. Yep. And you might get your hands to them, but you might not even know what you're doing.
He was probably even set a bit early, wasn't he? He had a bit of time to think about it. He was just sort of waiting to clunk in.
It could have been one of the all-time great photos up on the wall.
Gary Moorcroft.
It was Jezelenko, wasn't it?
It's Jezelenko, he'll be guilty.
What about our Triple MVP award for Employment Hero? From hired to retired, Employment Hero's HR recruitment and payroll software handles it all. Search Employment Hero today. Who got it done out there tonight?
For the best on grounds, well, I gave one vote to Matt Crouch. I thought he was in and under and was brilliant in getting the ball out. Yep, he didn't make the ground, but he gets in and starts the ball rolling with 37 disposals, 9 clearances, 12 contested possessions. I gave 2 votes to Mark Blixarves, who just did everything. And gee, Chris, he must be Chris Scott's favourite player.
He would be.
You'd love to
Tommy
have...
Stewart maybe, but...
yeah, well, you know what? It's a bit Butters and Rosie, that argument, isn't it? You just love both of them. It's just amazing what he does on a football field, Mark Blixarves, and 3 votes to Tom Stewart. He was just superb. Not sure if you can play much better game than that as an intercepting defender.
I reckon one thing we saw tonight, anyone that had doubts about Geelong this year, we're only 2 weeks in, but they will be hard to beat.
Yep. Especially down there.
Down at Geelong.
They won't stand as well.
There's a fair bit of talent out there still.
Yeah, certainly. And their good players are still playing well.
Yeah.
You know, the older players, I should say, are still playing well. So, they're not. They just don't lie down, Geelong. They keep turning up, don't they?
Yeah. That's the Triple MVP award for Employment Hero. Choice hotels around the grounds, tidying up the scores from last night. Whatever your reason for travelling, you'll get the lowest price guaranteed when you book direct at choicehotels.com. So go ahead, book it. And, of course, it was the Saints home by 15 points last night over Collingwood. And tomorrow we've got 3 big games, North Melbourne and the Dockers, Hawthorn and Melbourne and Sydney. And the Bombers, the Cats home here by 19 points. And, Bern, I know you're a big NBL fan. Game 2 of the NBL finals tonight.
Yep.
The Jack Jumpers.
Yep.
They were home by 5 points.
Oh, it's Tassie.
Over Melbourne United.
Beautiful.
So 82-77. That's us done. Geelong home by 19 points for McDonald's and Ream Hot Water. Triple M rocks footy.
McHenry is...
The Triple M Footy Review for Amy. Clangers happen. Lucky you're with Amy.
For Ream Hot Water and McDonald's.
Triple M Rock Footy.